All right, so we have the lady of the hour here. I'm going to say the name right. I've been practicing this. So Shilan Parham.
Perfect. You nailed it.
Perfect. All right. Ask me a month from now. I have to make sure I get that Parham part properly. Um, but it's great having you here, Shilan. It's funny, we were talking at the promoting owners meeting, and you were like, "Hey, Jamie, I want to be on this podcast or YouTube channel or whatever we call this nowadays, this interview." And so I appreciate you taking an interest. Obviously, you're watching the videos, and man, showcasing you is quite a treat because you have, as we were talking, you have such a unique background, and I want to get this right, and I want to unpack a lot of your, I guess, your childhood and what kind of makes you, your experiences that make you who you are. But you're born in Iran, Tehran. Am I saying that right?
Tehran.
Tehran. That's the capital. So
Correct.
you're born in Iran. You'll have to give us the years of, like, year, maybe not year you're born, but year you left, and then you went to China, and you
Hmm.
were in China for a handful of years, and then you came to the United States, and very entrepreneurial. I mean, in China, you started a couple schools, so you'll have to kind of unpack that. But just give us a little bit of like your childhood growing up in Iran. Obviously, good friend of mine, Patrick Bet David's got lots of stories about growing up in Iran and his experiences. So I'd love to hear just kind of your experience growing up, and we'll eventually get to the United States here.
For sure. First, I want to say thank you for letting me be on your call because I'm such a big fan, and I know we haven't maybe talked a lot, but I've learned so much from you. I probably watched most of your videos, and today my leaders meeting was one of your meetings that was about like leader is just being influential, how to be influential. And yeah, I'm just super grateful to have you as a resource, and I definitely look up to you a lot. So thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Of course. Okay, so let's go back to Iran. Obviously, I'm sure, I mean, you've probably read Rich Dad Poor Dad a million times. That was kind of like my story growing up, but it was more of a rich grandpa, poor grandpa. And I'll forever be grateful for the poor grandpa side, because it definitely taught me what not to do. But I'm grateful for the genes that they gave me because I would say being able to be a good straight A student, have a high IQ, and being very encouraged from my dad's side, always continue your school or be a student, learn different languages, and just get to know the world. That was from that side, so I'm grateful for that. But growing up, I look up to my grandpa. And I lost him last year, but overall, he's biggest inspiration of my life. He started by selling eggs in the street to building up his own factory. So by the time I was around, all I saw was him and my grandma, traveling the world and having a time of their life. And I was like, okay, that's the life I want. That's what I want to be like when I grow up. So very early on, entrepreneurship was just made it very clear for me that's the path that I wanted to take. And really, he integrated work ethic, super hardworking. He integrated integrity, uh, how to just be a good person, and who do you want to be when people are not around? Like, how do you want people to talk about you? And just be a good example and just be a good person. That's what I learned from him. But obviously, being in Iran, and you're very familiar, there is not a lot of opportunities. Obviously, being a female, what I saw was people around me just, that were not entrepreneurs. I just saw people, with a master's degree, PhDs, working 70, 80 hours a week and really not being able to even pay for their life. And with everything going on, so there was just economy wise, it wasn't making sense. There was not much freedom, obviously. So I was like, it's not here. Like, my calling is somewhere else. I just got to get out of here. And thank God for being a good student. My grandpa was like, this is the only grandchild I'm going to invest in and pay for school. So that was my first pitch. My first sale was convincing my grandpa to pay for my school and, just sending me somewhere else. So one of my friends' uncle had a company in Shanghai, and that was an idea. I was like, okay, well, Europe was very expensive. I was not able to pitch them on that, but somewhere Asia was a little bit cheaper, and I was like, this is it. I'm gonna be able to figure it out myself. So just like help me in the beginning, and that's how China started. I studied Chinese for 2 years. that was a whole different beast. And then I went to school there, got my degree. I started working there. This is gonna be very interesting. I taught English with a very poor English because that was the only job that you really, as a foreigner, could have. So it was crazy. Like, I was preparing my flashcards and learning it at the same time, going an hour away and teaching that. But I really understood, oh my God, I can actually exchange my hours for money. And then I was like, I'm just gonna work as much as I can because I want to make money. And because that wasn't the case in Iran. And I learned, okay, well, the more I work, the more I'm gonna be able to make money. So I was going to school, working 7 days. I never had a day off, and I really enjoyed it because I started making money so I could travel. And then traveling was great. I traveled a lot in Southeast Asia, but then having an Iranian passport, it's very limited. So I needed visa everywhere I wanted to go. I had to wait for a month or two to get accepted for a visa. And I was like, okay, this is not it. I need a strong passport. I want to just, click on the ticket and just buy it and then be able to go. I was like, okay, where else can I go? And obviously being there, China was great. I loved it. It was amazing. Me and my friend opened a language school after I graduated together. We found a Chinese sponsor. That was awesome, like really different experience. And then we opened the second one that I was in charge of it, but that was around the time that I wanted to come to US. And I decided that, I just gotta go somewhere else. And that happened in 2015, where I moved here. Do you want me to continue my US journey or?
Well, let's stay on Iran here. I'm just curious. Like, did your rich grandpa? I like that reference. Rich grandpa, poor grandpa, kind of thing. Did rich grandpa? And I can't even imagine what is it like for women over there? Did he recognize that, you know what, you're just not going to have an opportunity here in Iran? Or was he like, yeah, I don't really want you to go. You could, start up I'm sure he had ideas of how to expand his business and you could potentially fit into that. Or like, what was his thought process on you going to China?
It's like when you see immigrants that come to US and they're super successful, what do you think they typically do? Like all the Malcolm Gladwell stories of, in Outliers, you read like all these, immigrants come here and they make a life. What do they typically want their kids to do in your experience?
Yeah, they want their kids to have something easier that wasn't, he doesn't want you selling eggs on the road to starting a factory, does he? He wants you to be a doctor or lawyer,
Right.
something like that.
Exactly, right? That's always like they didn't go to school, they worked hard, they created a life, and then they're like, okay, you go to school, you make a
Right,
life and you go work, right?
right.
And that was the trajectory. I was super interested of learning it and taking over. So they had like chicken farms, really big chicken farms, like one of the biggest ones in the north. And as much as we were interested and I was interested, that like was not the path that was coming. I really fought for it, to be honest, but they really wanted us to go to school and learn and do something else and, build something of our own. But I'm lucky that I have four aunts. So my mom, there are five of them. I have three aunts and one uncle, and they all are super, very independent, very strong women. So growing up around my cousins, a lot of them were girls. So just and he was very good at empowering, very strict as well at the same time, no nail polish, not much makeup, not very religious, but very strict, a little bit like, like that, very traditional. But I know that we had family overseas, like we had other cousins and other people that went and they made a good life. We had one of our uh, really close family friends. I remember before I go to China, he came and he actually lives in the US. He's in Florida, and he is an entrepreneur. He built up his own businesses. He started with gas station to expanding. And I remember he was asking me, he was like, why China? Why not US? And I was like, I don't think it's expensive and it's very unrealistic. And he kind of like had me write this, I did a little manifestation. That's so crazy. My mom found this letter a few years ago that I wrote. I get goosebumps every time I go over it because I had no idea of being in the US, but I was like, let me just like go a little crazy. And I wrote like, okay, this is like 20 years from now, I'm living in the United States. I have my green card. I'm running my $1 million business, all of this. And it's crazy how it all came through. But he was the first person that kind of like showed me to think a little bit bigger, see a little bit bigger. Like it's possible you can go somewhere else. Like with your work ethic, with your, you know, how you are, you can accomplish a lot. So that was like a first kind of like a little bit of a, how do you say, like a trigger or a light bulb. And then from there, I got the idea of, okay, like maybe I can do more. And then I started just talking. It was a no-no in the beginning for my grandpa, just like letting me to go to another country, but I was super persistent. And I promised that, you know, I'm going to learn a lot and I'm going to take us somewhere. But then Iran just getting worse and worse, honestly, the past like 18 years I've been out. They encourage me now not to, you know, the past few years, obviously they're like, no, don't come here. You know, you built something of your own. So he wanted us to go and out there and do something of our own. Going abroad definitely was not the first choice for him, but he definitely wanted us to continue our education and just become better in life.
Mm. And I've seen some of your posts, you know, like you feel strong about your countrymen over in Iran, and my perception is it breaks your heart to see some of the things happening over there. Anything you want to touch on, just kind of, you know, your country?
Yeah, I think you know, my friends are there. Like my family is still there. I'm lucky that I was able to bring my mom here to help me with Sami, with my son now. But it, it's it's crazy because I see my friends, and every time I go back, it's very stagnant. It's not even a stagnant. It's going backwards, you know. And I do have a couple of friends that are extremely successful because of the relations that they have. But in general, obviously I don't know how much I can talk about it, you know, like how much I can, but in
Sure.
general, I think I'm just hoping something good happens very soon because we definitely need help.
Mm,
We need help. And with everything else is going on, I think a lot of countries, they just maybe have their best interest for things to be the way it is. And that's why probably a lot of movements are not happening, I think, externally. But in the country, people cannot do anything. Like it's impossible. Like you will die. And they've
mm,
tried a lot the past few years, but nothing is gonna change. And that's why I'm trying to bring all, like that was one of my goals, to bring everybody, bring them out, because as much as I'm all about, you know, I'm proud of being Persian, I'm proud of building something and helping and, you know, spreading awareness. But, you know, at the end of the day, if the environment is not gonna help you grow, you just gotta get out, as sad as it is.
mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, for us in America, like it just seems like a movie. Like I can't imagine what that would be like, where your freedoms are limited, or you know, the government persecutes. I mean, just like unheard of. Like we think we have issues here in America. We have an election coming up here in a couple weeks. I mean, nothing compared to what it's like in Iran right now.
Yeah, you're very limited. You don't have any freedom of speech. You cannot talk and speak what is on your mind. Like you're done.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Was China similar?
China in some areas very similar, obviously kind of like communism, right? So very suppressed, of course, as well. But the good thing that, like the support that I had in China in ways that it was really good was I was all friends with just foreigners. You know, all my friends were from different countries. We all went through the school with the same. We were all go to the same bar, same restaurants. So it was so cool to be in such a diverse environment. And that just opened my mind so much about the world of like, oh my God, this is just like so much bigger than what I thought life is.
Hmm.
And that experience was just out of this world for me because Iran doesn't have that. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, of course, it has its own issue. And the thing that I learned also in China was, man, like if people work till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and in Iran, you would work extra, you won't make extra money. In China, you would make work extra, you would make money. But if you don't want to work extra, you're just gone because there's other people that can replace you because there's so much population. The competition is so high that like if you don't want to do the extra work, like you're easily replaceable. And something that I appreciate about US is your creativity, your hard work would actually give you a fuel, give you an advantage that you can get ahead of the crowd. That was not the case in China.
Hmm.
And another reason I had to get out of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I know with China, like John Maxwell, he says his favorite place to teach is in China. He says they're hungry and they crave accountability. Like just something that he's like, I don't see that in the United States here, but in China, they crave accountability. Like that's just kind of the common thread he finds with the people that are seeking leadership coaching and leadership teaching from him. But he loves China, like has
Yeah.
a lot of
Best years of my life, 100%. I suggest it to everybody. It was a very good place to grow up in my 20s.
Mm,
Um, as a girl, you could be 3 a.m. in the street walking with your friends and super safe. So that was, amazing for me to, who came from Iran, you would hear what is it, the police alarm going, you hear the police car and I'm already shaking here without even doing anything. Versus in China, that was very traumatic for, a year or two, but you don't even hear it there. It's very calm. It's very obviously there. It, it gets a little bit some movements here and there, but in general, oh man, like the best students, they are hardworking and they just like put their head down and just give direction.
mm,
Yeah, very good people for sure.
mm. And you spent how many years in China?
8.
8 years in China. Wow. Again, your story is just so unique, right? 18 years in Iran and then 8 years in China. And here you are now. You just passed your citizenship test. So you're almost an American woman, right?
Yes,
That's
I
really
am so
exciting.
proud. I definitely cried a little bit practicing my Pledge of Allegiance.
And so I'm going to get into some work questions here shortly. I'm just trying to unpack just, who you are. But so your views on America. I mean, you gave us some of your China story, your Iran story. So what are your thoughts just being a young entrepreneur here in the United States?
Yeah, Jamie, when I just moved here, I did my MBA at Auburn, and I had a graduate assistantship program, like I'm working at school. And what really stood out to me was I was like, oh my God, John Maxwell talks a lot about this when he says, you see it's 20 to 5, people start, going saying their byes. And it was exactly the same. I was like, oh my God, everybody's just like ready to be 5 o'clock and leave. And that's when it clicked. I was like, okay, as long as I work a little bit, I just got to overwork them a little bit. I can make the life that I want. I just got to get to the right opportunity. So when I graduated, I was just looking for an opportunity somewhere that I wanted to be an entrepreneur again, but then I had to find sponsorship, all of that. So in the middle of here, I just want to say something that really changed my life. Do you know who Ty Lopez is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen him? Do you know him?
I don't know him. I've seen his videos, but I don't know him.
Okay, I was like, oh my God, yes, please
Mm,
connect with me.
no.
Um, but I was going through a very kind of like a toxic relationship, and I was very down. I was cheated on, and I was like kind of like rock bottom, couldn't work a lot. And all my money I made in China, I just paid for tuition fee because American school, is expensive. And I was just like in a really low place. And then I saw one of those ads that he used to have, here in my garage, and talking about how important knowledge is. And I was like, let me just see what this is. And I clicked on it was his 67 program, 67 steps to a great life, health, wealth, love, and happiness. I was like, let me see what this guy is saying. So that changed my life entirely. And I learned that, oh my God, in order for me to get to where I want, I just got to add value to myself. And that's how I can increase my value in the marketplace, um, and just get better myself. So I started reading more. I started working on myself a little bit more. And I didn't care, honestly, where I work. I just wanted to find a mentor. I was like, just sponsor me, I'll work for free. Just teach me everything you know about business. So when I did my interview at Adam's office, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that, this guy is such a successful person and he's going to teach me everything. And he's also going to pay me to teach me how to run a business. That was just mind blowing for me. And my first question obviously was, do you guys a sponsor? And they said, if you work hard. I was like, that's it. That's my opportunity. Um, but that's where it all started. And yeah, that's how I got my green card. That's how I'm becoming a citizen, because of this opportunity. But it changed my life. Adam definitely changed my life. Just learning and bothering him with questions. I was just that annoying, you know, rep in his office who every single morning would come early and ask him a million questions. But that really helped me. I think my curiosity and just outworking everybody else in the beginning.
Mm. Well, you certainly landed in one of our best offices, obviously getting, tutelage from Mr. Dorfman. I'm just curious your thoughts. I mean, you've been an owner since 2019 now. Like, what is it about this business that you love so much? Like, you've got a lot of passion. Everybody can see it in you. You're doing well in business. You've hit the $1 million club 2 years in a row now. You're a promoting owner. So, like, why this business? What is it about this business that gets you going?
I think the most important thing about it for me was I just want to show to people that they can do whatever they want with their life as long as they work hard enough for long enough and they just keep improving themselves. Like you can change the story, you can write your story, you have that power. And if your environment is not the right environment, you just got to change it until you find it. And I think the other thing that really helped me that I love about our business is, you know, I think, you've heard the story of you have if you were your back was against the wall and you had the opportunity to save someone on the other side of the mountain and they give you a little money, you wouldn't go. But if it's someone that you love is standing on the other side of the mountain, you will go through fire to save them. And I think because my back was against the wall, I had 1 year to make it happen and get sponsorship in a way. That's exactly why I stayed, because I think these days people just have a lot of opportunities and they just don't give it their absolute best when shit gets tough. Excuse my language. They just give up. They go after something else. But I think I saw that opportunity with, doesn't matter how low you go, how high you go, as long as you keep going and you keep getting better yourself, like you're gonna accomplish a lot and it's all up to you. And then once you get better, then magically the people around you get better, and now you have more influence because your surrounding is better. Now you're affecting other people's lives, and that becomes so addictive. That's what I love about our business, just to see people taking the biggest check that they got in their life or changing their family tree because they became an entrepreneur and they hit new milestones. I think seeing that I could be that little change in someone's life, that's such an addictive
Mm,
feeling that I just love that
mm,
feeling.
that's awesome. Um, and so you're a newlywed wife, obviously you married Lucas, and you have little baby Sam now. So how's the dynamics of being you're an owner now, and now you're a wife, and now you're a mother. I mean, you've had a lot of, big changes over the last couple of years. What's that like now for you?
I think it's very empowering. I think once you become an entrepreneur and you kind of like hit some milestones, then you realize that, okay, like as you grow, your problems grow with you. And the better you get at solving bigger problems, the faster you move up, right? So I just learned that obstacles are just opportunities for us to get better. It's just how we see them. And I really didn't know how to go with, okay, I'm gonna be a mom. I want to make sure that I give enough time to my son. And as a mom, that guilt is always there. And I had a very good conversation with Rebbe actually about this. She was like, yeah, it's there. You just gotta, be intentional with the time that you have with him. So I think just becoming a wife and becoming a mom just gave me a little bit more of a being intentional with every moment that I have, because he's watching me constantly whenever I'm around. And obviously their brains, biggest portions of our brains gets developed by the age of 5. So I just want to make sure that I am a great example for him. And whenever I show up as my best self, whenever I feel the best, that's when I'm becoming a better leader for my team. It just gave me a different kind of fuel.
Mm,
You have kids, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's a different kind of fuel. I feel like I'm unstoppable, and it's amazing how your purpose and your why kind of changes through life. So it's just a new purpose, new life. I'm more excited than I ever was for our business and giving opportunity to myself and people around me for sure.
that's amazing. I would agree. I've always considered myself ambitious, and then I'm like, gee, I wonder what's going to happen when my baby's born. As the little baby's growing inside Joanne, and then the day he was born, I wanted to go to the office and just go kick some butt. Like I'm just like
Yeah.
my ambitions on like steroids now. I just want to just because those little eyes are watching, I just want to be the best role model I can be. So it
Mhm.
sounds like you're experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And all while being tired. I mean, isn't it amazing how you can get so much done with such little sleep?
It's crazy, right? And you get used to it. You get used to it, and it doesn't matter anymore because it doesn't matter even if you're awake since 5 and you get everything done and you get home, like that smile is all I need to
Mhm.
keep going. 100%. And it's like we feel like we don't have enough time, and then but we do have time. We just get better at prioritizing it. It's the best feeling in the world. I wouldn't change it with anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Sam was born this year, right? 2024?
Is this where I can correct you?
Sure,
It, it's
please.
Psalm.
Oh, oh, Sam. Some
Yes. It's
pronunciations are off.
I know it's okay. It's Persian for Sam.
Oh, well,
Yeah. It's Persian for
Sam's
Sam.
not so bad, but Sam.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, he was born end of March,
Born in March what?
March 25th. Are you a March baby?
I'm a March baby. I'm March 6th.
Okay, you're on the other side.
I'm on the other side. Yes, we don't have the same sign, but I'm a March baby. Psalm. Okay. How do you spell Psalm?
Saam.
Saam.
Mhm.
Saam. Psalm.
Mhm.
And I asked you about your strengths. Like, I'm like, what makes you like good at the business? I'll just rattle off some of these, and I'm just kind of curious how you'll navigate this. But your mindset. I mean, not sure if you got that, in Iran, and again, you sold your grandpa, so there was obviously something in your mindset, way back as a little girl, seeing obstacles as opportunities, structure, systems, planning. Sounds very C type. Not sure if you're a C type
I'm
personality.
not, but everybody says that.
Huh, interesting. Are you an I?
I'm a DI.
A DI. And yet you put all this value on C type things like systems, planning, and structure, organizational habits. I mean, out of the six things you gave on
Mm.
your strengths, I mean, four of those six are C type of behavior. So can you unpack that a little bit as a DI?
Yeah, for sure. I worked really hard on it for sure. I don't know. I just like learned a little bit early on. This is something I learned from Jenna Huss. And it's funny, you find your journals from like years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, I have a to-do list back then too. I think it was just a kind of like getting used to not just having my days going. And it started when I was in China, when I had just like, okay, so many different work that I had to do, different classes, different students. And I was like, okay, I gotta be organized for that. Um, and then I learned just because my days are going doesn't mean I'm growing. So I had to be very intentional with just like be structured. Um, but I gotta spend at least 3, 4 hours a week just planning things, because then I would be just super stressed out about I don't know like where what is going, and just planning ahead, like a quarter ahead, months ahead. But I don't know. It has, yeah, crazy how like my C is pretty low, but I'm very structured in that way, and just try to work on it. It wasn't a strength, so I had to work on it to become a strength, because if I want to have a system and if I want to have something that's sustainable for years to go. That's something that I also got from Sebastian, just like having different departments that are going to take care of it. If you want to have a huge organization in the future, um, just building up that. And I think just planning a lot in the beginning and having a lot of structure and just being very intentional with all of that. I think that has helped me, even though I'm not a high C, just making sure that not that my weakness becomes my strength, but kind of like it comes up a little bit higher, because it's just I need to get good at it.
Hmm. That's interesting because you kind of hear two different sides. You hear some people like, well, I'm a DI, so those aren't strengths of mine, and they they just sort of use that as their alibi on why they're listen, I'm a mess, I don't plan, I don't structure, but I'm really good at taking control, and then my I comes out and I'm influential, I spend time with the crew. But again, I've heard people like you or Sebastian who I believe Sebastian's an I who put a lot of merit on C type behaviors just to get that muscle going. Like you got to have structure and rituals, routines, and planning. Otherwise, you might be spinning your tires on ice just a little bit too long. So, nice to hear that you put some merit in that. Whereas those of us that are C types, we got to put the merit on you got to do I type behaviors. You got to spend time with the guys. You got to do team nights. So, you can't just use your personality disposition as a crutch on why you're not doing well in these other areas. you got to make some of those quote unquote weaknesses strengths is kind of how I looked at it.
It's funny you're saying that because even though I'm an I, like I really liked the rewarding side of being an I and being recognized and all of that good stuff. But I guess showing care and truly connecting with people in a genuine way in the beginning, that was my weakness. So I had to get really good at system in the beginning because I was not like naturally good at sales, and I had to be like break it down and be really good with the system and the structure so I could teach that. And then once I learned my lesson of okay, people like really not going to follow you if you want to do things your way, or you expecting everybody else to have your work ethic, or your ambition is just not going to work. That's when I had to like kind of like change how my eye was showing up a little bit. Yeah, because I really like, I'm not from here. Talking about hunting, fishing, and football did not come naturally, years ago. Now my husband is the biggest sports fan, and we have every game that is in the planet always playing on TV. But that was something that I had to like get really good at the structure and system. So I could start with that. And then I got good at okay, let's build genuine connection and understand people and connect with their whys because they don't want what I want. So let's get them what they want.
Yeah, that's funny. You summed up the American culture really well, right? It's like when I did my citizenship test, I'm like, they're going to ask me who my favorite NFL football team is, and they just asked, who's the first president of the United States? I'm like, really? This is the question that you're going to give me? And if you get that one wrong, maybe you shouldn't qualify to be an Americano.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's great. Any other closing thoughts for us? I mean, obviously you're a rock star. I have a lot of respect for you. You're so passionate, and your story is just so intriguing. But any final closing thoughts you want to share with us?
Can I share a quote? It's my favorite quote by Charlie Munger. He talks, and I talk about this a lot in my office. He says, in order to get out of life, first you must deserve what you want out of life. The world is not a crazy enough place to reward bunch of undeserving people. So
Hmm.
I think for me, what I try to live by and what I try to teach, and I think what's working for me is I'm very intentional with increasing my deserve it factor um, every day, every month. And I think if all of us are very intentional with that, and I think, I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit, I'm, this is something that I don't see a lot in Americans because I think we're kind of spoiled maybe here, and if you're from other countries and you come here and, you're like, damn, there's so much opportunities. Damn, these people live a really good life and they don't appreciate it as much. And I know things are not, the best in every area, but I think sometimes, we think we deserve so much because we should just be given things. And I think, for me, I think we just, as long as we increase our deserve it factor and we just keep adding value to ourselves, that's how we can accomplish a lot more in life. It could be in our love life, it could be in our career, wealth, health, all aspects of it. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Well, we'd like to have you on again in the future if you're good with that.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the call. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, guys.